president of the United States, Michael Jackson still had some of his God-given nose. Gas prices were under $2. This is the breeding ground of A Nightmare Before Christmas. Johnny Depp's first major motion picture, and also the introduction of Robert Englund as Freddy. This movie is ultra cheesy with a side order of cheese and a large cheese. But it is also a classic in its own right. And fun. In the past, 20 years, Hollywood has become obsessed with remaking hit films. Don't ask me why they don't follow the old adage, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, because I haven't the slightest idea. In April of 2010, Hollywood unleashed a remake of what is possibly one of my favorite horror movies of all time. And like most horror movie remakes, they completely destroyed it. I'm so glad that Robert Englund didn't make a cameo in this, because that would have made me violently ill. We have a lot of ground to cover, so let's begin, shall we? God, I hate this movie. I hate this movie. What the fuck is with the opening credits? I hate this movie. Moving on to a diner, and it's raining. Okay. We see a guy sitting in what appears to be a vacant diner. Kellen Lutz, the guy who plays Emmett Cullen from Twilight. He gets the first death scene of this horrendous remake. One of our leads, Nancy, strolls up and takes his plate, but he keeps the knife. Alright. By the way, this is the only time you see her at work, and she never even mentions work ever again. It's nice to see the movies these days are really withholding the continuity with these characters. In comes Chris, played by Katie Cassidy. Katie, you're making it into another one of my reviews. Chris is there to meet up with Dean.
They're just dreams. Okay, they're not real.
Spoken like a true horror movie character who is going to die before the 30-minute mark.
These dreams, they're real.
You delivered that line like Edward Cullen.
You're my only reason to stay alive, if that's what I am.
You really need to stop hanging out with Robert Pattinson. Or at least don't take any more acting tips from him. It won't help you. At another table, we meet the other two main characters, Quentin and Jesse.
Jesse's he's pissed because
She's evil.
I know.
No, I mean, she's actually evil. No.
Dean spills his coffee on Chris and she goes to clean herself up, but Dean ends up in one of his nightmares with the knife.
You're not real! You're not real! You're not real!
And the award to best usage of a sharp utensil goes to this worthless moron. What happened to all that muscle you built up for the Twilight series? Pussy. Yeah, you may be the next to die, but this isn't going to be the last time that we hear you screaming at the top of your lungs. Now that we've met the main characters, I would like to do a little rundown for you. Katie Cassidy plays the role of Christina from the original film. She was actually the first to die in the original film. Rooney Mara. I really think your parents hate you. I'm sorry. But with a name like that, your parents hate you. She plays Nancy from the original film. But this time her character has also taken on traits from another character, Alice, whom doesn't appear in the original series until Nightmare 4. Alice was artistic, reserved, and worked at a diner. Kyle Gallner plays Quentin, who is modeled after Johnny Depp's character Glenn in the 1984 original. The only similarities Quentin has with Glenn is that he's mopey and reserved, and he also has a hot for Nancy. Although in this film, Nancy and Glenn Quentin aren't even dating. Thomas Dekker plays Jesse, whom assumes the role of Christina's bad boy boyfriend in the original film. In this remake, the two have already split. As far as Kellen goes, I'm assuming his character Dean is supposed to be the character Dan from Nightmare 4 and 5 of the original series, but your guess is as good as mine. Certain aspects of all 6 films from the original series are put into this one film, so you can imagine my disdain for this film trying to compact 6 films into one movie, under 2 hours long. But my lament for this film doesn't have anything to do with that, honestly. It has more to do with the details they changed from the original. The reason the changes bother me is because it greatly influences the flow of the film, as well as how each character comes off. I'll elaborate more as the film progresses. At Dean's funeral, Chris sees herself as a little girl being snatched up by Freddy. Apparently, she dozed off at the funeral. Okay. I've been to a funeral where I didn't really know the person, and I was bored, but I didn't fall asleep. And I was 8. Or 7.
I don't know how I'm in that picture. I didn't meet Dean until high school.
That's because the writers are fucking with a better movie.
Do you have any idea what that means?
No.
Yes, you do. Jesse, look at you. You look like you haven't slept in 3 days. And how perceptive of Chris. She noticed that Dean looked like shit.
Wow, you look like...
Like I haven't slept in 3 days?
But on Jessie, nope. She doesn't notice a thing.
You didn't see anything. She's already fucked up, so leave her alone.
No, you're the one who should leave her alone, asshole. You're the one telling her that she didn't see what you know, and I know, and everyone else who's seen this horse shit of a movie knows she saw. But you're too pussy to admit it, so you make her look like she's crazy so you're not alone. That night in Nancy's bedroom... Okay, movie, now you're just showing off. At Chris's house, she's grown suspicious after seeing the picture of her and Dean, so she goes looking through all the old photo albums. Okay, who just takes out pictures from a certain age of their child's life? I mean, wouldn't that strike you as a bit odd? It does for me.
Who can remember being 5 years old? Hey, why don't you pack those up? Dinner's almost ready.
Wow, you are so transparent. I hope Chris has a brain. Not likely. I'm open to being pleasantly surprised. I'm sure that's going to be a jump scare. Yep, jump scare. Of course, not getting very good sleep, Chris falls asleep in class. I actually really like this effect. This is where we're graced with Freddy for an extended period of time, and the brilliant writers decided to actually give Freddy dialogue.
This home hurt one little bit.
Lame ass and also creepy dialogue. After screaming bloody murder in the middle of class, she runs out as soon as the bell rings. She has my car! So her mom's a flight attendant and has to make a red-eye flight to London. That's quite convenient that she has to take an 11-hour flight there and back, leaving her daughter completely alone in the process. Oh, and bye, Chris's mom, since we're never gonna see you again. I guess she got stuck in London or something. So she goes to set the alarm, but keeps the window open. That makes perfect sense. Jesse appears and he reveals that he dreamt of the same mysterious guy. Chris naturally freaks out and Jesse tries to calm her in the most condescending way. Shushing and hugging her is not comforting. Jackass. Jesse stays to protect her. Where are his parents? Do they just let him wander around in the middle of the night? I guess so. Middle of the night, she hears her dog, Rufus, barking. Nice name, by the way. Oh, shit. I forgot about this part. I'm gonna have to censor this.
I was just patting him.
It doesn't even sound like him. The voice just doesn't match at all, and I'm not saying he doesn't sound like Robert Englund's Freddy. I'm saying that his face and demeanor does not match the vocalization. Do you get what I'm saying? It doesn't sync. It's just weird and out of place. This whole new perspective on Freddy makes me feel very violated. Oops.
Spoiler alert!
Chris wakes in bed. You're still asleep though. Duh. Thinking she survived, even though that was way too easy. She goes to the bathroom. No, we do not get a face appears in the mirror behind her cliche. I really thought we were going to, but apparently this movie is trying to maintain some dignity. He's behind you. He's behind you on the bed. Now we get the death that Christina had in the original. And yes, her bad boy boyfriend was there that night as well. Dude, she's been sliced down the middle. I'm pretty sure she's not only dead, but very dead. Back at Nancy's, it's clear she's not wanting to sleep as well.
It's the middle of the night. You need to go to sleep, hon.
Okay, I will.
Now.
Okay.
How very persuasive, Mom. Way to put your foot down. Jesse appears behind Nancy, covered in blood.
Whose blood is that? Is it your blood?
No, Ignoramus. If it were his, he'd be drenched in it. And considering your room is on the second floor, I don't think he would have the strength to climb through your window.
Nancy.
Just a moment ago, you knocked and came right in. It's not like Nancy locked the door.
Just don't fall asleep. If you die in your dreams, you die for real.
That is so a line reserved for the trailer of this movie. You can't outrun the cops. Because they're the fastest cops I've ever seen.
I loved her, man!
What a delivery. All you need now is a cigarette and a motorcycle chain, Dean.
I didn't do anything!
Except run from the cops. Dude, if that plea didn't work for O.J. Simpson, I doubt it'll work for you.
Shut the fuck up!
Oh my god, he's a teenager! I mean, I know he sounds super annoying right now, but he's just a kid! Why the fuck would you talk to a kid like that? Or handle him so violently? He was standing in one spot when you pulled up and pummeled him. Great, put him in a cell with a hardened criminal. Wait, he just jumped off the top bunk, but when it goes back to the camera room, you see him lay back down on the bottom bunk. Well, that was awfully nice of him to give Jesse the top bunk. Jesse slaps himself in an attempt to keep himself awake, but all he seems to be doing is annoying his cellmate.
Quiet!
Well, you did give him the top bunk. You could have claimed him as your bitch.
You're all my bitches now.
Okay.
Or you could have claimed everything in the cell as yours.
All this stuff in here is mine now. Oh. Well, okay.
At a bookstore, Quentin and Nancy meet up, but before Nancy arrives, Quentin sees a strange little girl. Okay, now he kind of resembles Edward Cullen. He really does look more like a pouty Robert Pattinson than he does a pouty Johnny Depp.
Folks posted your bail.
Okay, I have to mention this now. What average jail has this high tech of security? He can't possibly be imprisoned already. There's only substantial evidence against him. Oh yeah, and where exactly are his parents? You can tell the cop is no longer walking behind him. Also, you can tell that he's dreaming because the music tone shifted.
Oh God, no. Just me.
Really? Was that line intended to capture the humor of Robert Englund's Freddy? Because it fails in doing so. Why? Because this Freddy comes off more sinister, even the way he speaks. So having him try to crack jokes would be like Hitler or Manson cracking a joke. It doesn't work, It comes off very skin-crawlingly awkward. And all because they decided to make Freddy more like a real-life serial killer, whereas in the 1980s Freddy was your typical horror movie villain. At least when it comes to the ones that spoke. I mean, could you imagine if Michael Myers or Jason spoke? Or Leatherface? How hilarious would that be?
I didn't do it! I'm innocent!
Part of me feels really bad for this guy, but the other realizes how comedic this whole scenario is. It's impossible for me to have a heart. This is just too funny.
It's a Pied Piper of Hamlet. I saw it in one of my dreams. It's a story about a guy who's betrayed by a town, and he gets his revenge by taking all their children.
No, 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 no. You cannot try to intertwine a folk tale with this. My god. This is like Dracula 2000. They made Dracula fucking Judas. I love you, Lady Gaga, and that song, but right now, I'm so pissed off. Once again, Hollywood fucks with perfectly good story.
Maybe we went to school together when we were little or something like that.
I can recall.
Did you ever know a guy named Freddy?
I don't think so.
Wow! More transparent lies on the parental front! Great. Now they're reenacting another famous scene. Yeah, this angle is just as awkward and uncomfortable as it was in 1984. I feel like we're about to penetrate her vagina. Why don't you add some Midol and coffee to that cocktail as well?
How is the guy in our dreams connected to the school?
Maybe, let me think. He worked there? They rummage through Nancy's mom's documents and find a picture of all of them in preschool. Nancy's mom finally explains.
He was a gardener. He lived in the basement of the preschool, and you kids were his life.
He wasn't a gardener, nor did he live in the basement of where he worked. Nor did he work at a school. Freddy found employment maintaining the boilers at an old steam plant on the outskirts of town. Freddy would settle down and have a family of his own, all the time plotting his revenge upon life itself. Whilst working on the plant, he went on to construct the first of his infamous 6-inch bladed gloves. Made from an old glove and 4 razor-sharp blades that he attached to the glove with interlocking metal section and rivets, he began his killing spree. From 1975 to 1977, he kidnapped and murdered 23 children. Murdered! Freddy's downfall came when his wife discovered the bladed glove and multiple newspaper clippings about the child murders in their basement. Soon after killing his wife, Freddy was arrested and charged with the murders of his wife and the missing children of the town. However, in their haste, the bungling officers forgot to read Freddy his rights. He was unexpectedly freed on a technicality. Seeing the threat that he posed, the court placed his daughter in an orphanage. The enraged parents in Springwood, Ohio, then took the law into their own hands. They followed Krueger to a building where he took his victims and ignited it with gasoline into a raging inferno. However, no one expected the end result of this act. Freddy's soul was so corrupt that it was decided that he could be of use to dream demons imprisoned in hell. When he was promised eternal life in the world of dreams, Freddy could hardly refuse. It turns out that Wes Craven originally wanted Krueger to be a molester, but the decision was made to instead make Krueger a child murderer in order to avoid being accused of exploiting the spat of high-publicized child molestation cases in California around the time that Nightmare on Elm Street went in production. Just because the original mastermind behind Freddy wanted him to be a molester doesn't mean that it is in your best interest to completely change his backstory, movie.
He left town before we ever were able to confront him.
Quentin accepts this truth.
These are just fucked up memories.
While Nancy doesn't.
Memories don't kill you.
And she looks up the other children in the photograph, only to find
They're all dead.
how is this possible if he wasn't there? I mean, is Freddy simply letting Quentin into his own memories now?
Open this door, Kruger! What do you think I did? I didn't do it!
Okay, now you have our villain begging and pleading. No, movie. No. You can't do that. You can't portray Kruger as this dark, sinister being in one scene, and then have him whining like a bitch in another.
When
to call the
he's
police.
right.
This is not the way to
This
do
ends
it.
tonight.
Let me get this straight. You murder a guy for molesting your kids, and you miraculously don't get caught? I understand you want to protect your children and bring them to justice, but how do you justify this in the judicial court system? You have no reaction of shock to that? His head went into the camera, and you just shake your head as if he got into the cookie jar when he wasn't supposed to?
We were 5! We would have said anything!
And now you're sympathizing with the man who killed all of these kids. And oh yes, a couple of those kids were your friends! Congratulations, movie. Your villain is no longer a demon. Nancy sees Chris in a body bag at school.
You sleeping in a Louis Vuitton body bag.
And Quentin tries to get medication refill. How to appear as though you're a drug addict.
Look, I don't have time to call. Even just a couple, all I need is a couple.
Why don't you just tattoo it on your fucking forehead while you're at it? Stop fucking doing that! We get it! You have knives for fingers! Jesus Christ, every fucking time!
Let's go to the hospital. Come on.
Sure, let's go to the hospital. That's a good idea, yeah. Good, so glad they just got all sorts of medication out in the halls like that. Quentin stabs himself in the leg with adrenaline. It's nice that they lock closed schools and abandoned buildings in horror movies, but the active ones, you can usually just walk right in. They search the basement, and behind a giant corkboard they find the cave where Freddy allegedly violated them. This is where they come across what I'm assuming to be unsavory photos of Nancy.
No. Oh, God. No!
Wow. That is totally a believable explanation after uncovering some not-so-nice memory of your childhood.
I'm the one who pulled the sweater out. What if I'm the only one who can bring him out?
This tidbit here wasn't revealed until the 6th movie, and it was done by Kruger's daughter. Hollywood, I really hope you don't plan on making a sequel to this remake, because you've just fucked yourself. Pulling him out of the dream is the only way to kill him. The only way! Oh, thank God.
Wake me up if you see me struggle.
See, these necklaces have no substance.
Yeah, we gotta blame something, you know?
It doesn't come across to me as big nor meaningful enough that he would pass them on to her. Again, not a meaningful gesture, since their love affair was never properly established. You idiot! In 5 seconds, you're out? You're supposed to be watching her! A game of cat and mouse ensues between Nancy and Freddy after Freddy ripped into Quentin, but apparently not deep enough. Of all the cliches, movie, you didn't do the face in the mirror earlier. Couldn't you resist the hide in closet cliche? Or was it really that deliciously tempting to you? And here I thought you were trying to have some dignity in class, but no, you just had to prove me wrong.
How's this for a wet dream?
Ew. And, no. It doesn't involve Johnny Depp, therefore, not interested.
This dress was always one of my favorites. Do you remember it, Nancy? Of course you do.
Okay, this is why they only gave the original Freddy one-liners. Yes, child molestation is awful, but this isn't scary. It's just disturbing. Before Freddy can actually cut into her, Quentin comes to and stabs Nancy in the heart with adrenaline, which also pulls Freddy out with her.
It hurts, doesn't it? It's because you're in my world now, bitch.
Fucking epic one-liner with a great delivery. Brava. One shining moment in the entire film. So after decapitating him, she decides to light him on fire. For good measure. 911 is called. Nancy utters that incredibly unlucky line.
Nightmare's over.
Damn it! No it isn't, not after you say that! Sure enough, once she makes it home.
I'm just glad you're safe.
What did I fucking tell you? Fucking cop-out. Before I rant, I have a question. I mentioned he became a dream stalker by some demons from hell, correct? And this occurred after the parents killed him, yes? Then how do Nancy and Quentin expect that pulling him out of the dream world to kill him will actually kill him? I mean, because think about it. He'll just go back to hell and then be repositioned in the dream world. Doesn't it make sense? On to my rants. I haven't acknowledged this at all in the review. It's called A Nightmare on Elm Street for a reason. The parents who killed him lived on Elm Street, therefore their children were descendants of that. That's how they were able to make 6 films. Descendant, 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 descendant. Except the last one was about his daughter. But in this one, I'm not even sure if they're all neighbors, since Elm Street is only brought to our attention by way of a street sign. This street is how all of the kids are connected, not a preschool. Otherwise, it'd be called Nightmare at Bedlam Preschool or whatever the fuck it's called, I really don't care. The title Nightmare on Elm Street is made completely void by the fact that they incorporated this school into the majority of the premise, rather than the street. Finally, they show the boiler room in this film, but in this film, it's made completely obsolete because they changed his backstory. In this boiler room, this is where Freddy is murdered. But it doesn't even make sense. Why would he flee to a plant? The original story is obviously much more cohesive, with far less holes in it. And I don't mean thumbtack-sized holes. I mean the Incredible Hulk put his foot through a fucking wall kind of hole. So many things don't add up, and if you've never seen the original movie, you'd be left wondering what's up with the boiler room. I don't get it. And you'd have every right to. Because just as Elm Street is made null and void, so is the boiler room. I'm sure by all of the details, comparisons, and outrage. You've probably come to the conclusion that I downright loathe, despise, hate, want to rip into a billion tiny pieces and then burn it and shoot it and... Yeah, I hate this movie. This film should have been named something completely different. Because aside from Freddy, the characters are merely loosely based off of those from the original. I despise when something so good is turned into a stomach-turning, polished turd. Because that's all this is. The costume sets and picture quality was all very pristine and clean, but...
Polish a turd, it's still a turd!
This horrendous film could not be saved by its polished appearance. That's it for this movie review. Goodbye for now.
Scissors and let's hold hands. Blew out my birthday candles, wish that you were dead. Slice you to ribbon, lay next to me. Let's give each other lobotomies.